spit buckets last week. This week we're doing Do You Have Any Jockeys Caps? Next week we must do Does anyone actually own one of the mechanical hares? You've got a second-hand one. But why do dogs need it and the horses don't? Why don't the horses have a sugar lump that goes out in front that keeps their attention? I suppose
because they've got a jockey on riding it. The dogs haven't got anything, of course.
They don't have... Oh, no, they don't have them.
They don't have a rider.
No, they don't. I'm thinking of monkeys. Here's our friend Gordon. Gordon!
Hi, Danny.
You couldn't be more in time here, because now we're talking about, does anybody actually own one of the jockey's silk caps? And you do?
Well, I don't, but I did.
Oh, okay.
I owned one for 5 minutes, and then I had to hand it over to someone. That's
a great phone-in thing you've owned for 5 minutes. Yeah, go on.
It started on Grand National Day many years ago. I was playing football in Crosby in the suburbs of Liverpool. And we always used to kick off around 3 o'clock and then break at half-time for listening to the match on a transistor, the National on the transistor radio.
Yes, yeah.
It was a bit like World War II with the Germans and the English, where they broke hostilities and went back to kicking lumps out of each other.
Gordy, you're right there, because I remember when, football wasn't televised or whatever, and we used to go on Millwall on a Saturday afternoon, and Grand National Day was a real toss-up how you could do it. I don't know if they coordinated that at half-time, but you saw more transistor radios in the ground, obviously, then than ever. So you organised your games around this, yes?
Well, this particular year, I didn't get to half-time. I got injured after about 10 minutes with a chest injury. And
what do you mean a chest injury?
That's an unusual one.
A boot to the chest.
I was a goalkeeper and he was a centre forward.
And what part about his elbow, his head, or his boot got you?
It was his knee and his leg. I came sliding out and he came sliding in.
Okay, so there it is. You're injured?
Well, yeah, I was quite badly injured, and rather than wait for an ambulance, my brother happened to be playing on the next pitch, as it would be, David Algio, and so he jumped in his car, raced over, put me on the back seat and drove me to Walton Hospital, which is right next to Aintree Racecourse.
All right. Oh,
so
all right.
I ended up with 6 broken ribs and I think 2 cracked ribs, and I was told I'd have to stay in the observation ward for 24 hours while they checked on me. So I thought I was in for a very boring night. As I went into the ward, there was 5 other empty beds, but they gradually started to fill up. As each jockey had come off at the race course,
they brought them in.
They brought them in. And if they'd landed on their head, they had to stay in for 24 hours for health and safety observation reasons. But there was basically nothing wrong with them. You know, they were there under duress.
And these were full-size bed for little tiny jockeys, were they? That must have been a very pleasing sight. So how did you lay your hands on one of their rare caps?
Well, we were there for about 12 or 16 hours through the night, and they were all very restless because they didn't want to be there. And as the night wore on, they reenacted some of the races that they'd been in during that day, including the National.
What do you mean reenacted some of the races?
Jumping over the beds. Please tell me they were jumping over the hospital beds.
What did they do?
One of the guys was trying to explain to the other how he'd come off of the chair.
Yeah.
So this other jockey laid out 4 chairs in a row across the wards and said, "Show me." So he put his helmet on, he got his whip, and he went, down the ward, slapping his backside with his whip, and he jumped over these 4 chairs to show them, except he put his toe in the top, scattered the 4 chairs, injured his ankle, and everybody came running in, and the nurses and other doctors, and people were complaining down the corridor of the noise coming from our room, and it just got into complete mayhem. And as the night wore on, a bottle of whiskey got passed around,
oh, now you're talking.
And not enough food was being had, so one of the jockeys climbed out the window.
Hang on, can I just say, I've been broadcasting a long time. I know it sounds ungallant, but I've won every award I think going. I've got to say, my favourite phrase I've heard in all that time is, "and one of the jockeys climbed out of the window." One of the jockeys climbed out the window,
to go down to the local curry house to bring back 6 curries as takeaway about midnight to keep us all going.
This is the best Grand National story.
Floor.
This is the best Grand National story you're going to hear anywhere. All right.
It was a slightly raised ground floor, so it wasn't too far down, but we had to have a leg up to get back in again.
Of course, yeah. And you were still no closer to seeing how you got one of these prized caps.
Well, it got to the end of the night and the morning, about 9 a.m, after a lot of raucous evenings and a lot of visits from nurses and other patients in other wards, and we were all being gradually discharged. And all their silks and caps and whips had all been hanging over the end of the beds. And so everybody was after a souvenir.
Yeah.
And one of the jockeys gave me his cap. I think it was a jockey called Dermot Brown, and a blue silk cap. And I was going to treasure it until one of the nurses said to me, could she have it?
Oh, that's very good of you.
And, well, she'd looked after us and kept us out of trouble all night.
I suppose so. And so you had it for 5 minutes and then gifted it to this latter-day nightingale.
Well, given all the trouble we caused them that night, it seemed the least I could do to give it as my souvenir.
You didn't sleep at all, just you and the jockeys raising merry hell in the ward.
It's like the most fun hospital stay ever.
Now I understand why the Grand National has this following, because everybody, and I guess journalists now hearing this think, oh, I'm going to get admitted to hospital because they'll all come in, the story will write itself. You don't keep in touch, I take it?
No.
That would be lovely. And there must be something proportionate to stature to hijinks, because when the Munchkins made The Wizard of Oz, it was exactly the same. They said they couldn't keep them under control, and there's books written about it. And now we're finding that people of restricted height, of a small stature, will raise merry hell. Thank you, Goldie. That was a terrific story. That jockeys who have to stay in hospital just for observation will stage another Grand National during the night. Stefan, I promise we'll be right with you. And you, Sparrow. What you got over there, Lindsay?
Have you ever been mistaken for a pop star? Is one of the other subjects.
Anybody get mistaken for a pop star?
Well, Julian Staffordshire says, once in a pub on the remote west coast of Ireland on a geology field trip with my now husband, who bared a passing resemblance to Jarvis Cocker, we were wearing a really scruffy field kit and drinking the cheapest drinks possible when we noticed a German family staring at us and talking, and we made out the word cocker. As we moved repeatedly from our table to the bar and back, they started following us, strategically placing themselves to be in the front of a photograph with my husband in the background. They never asked for an autograph, never asked for us to pose for a photo, even though we would have happily given them one.
They figured that they were getting, and still probably showing those photographs around. It's funny when you do that on holiday, isn't it? You stand there because I want to get a photo of the person behind you. In America, with those uniquely shaped rear ends, some of the people you see, and you just think, oh, wow, it's like those things Kenny Everett used to wear, or Russ Abbott. They have those backsides. Oh, don't you do that? Mate, I'm taking a photo of you. And what you're trying to do is get the absolute champion buttocks of the entire holiday, that kind of shelf that comes out from halfway down the back.
Done that.
Oh, we do that all. And most people do that, by the way. Stefan and Sparrow will be right with you after the travel.
Thanks, Danny. M60 in Manchester, if you're using the clockwise carriageway, there's a lane out on the exit slip road at